We don't normally spend a lot of time talking about what's happening in the markets during the AM hour of AgriTalk, but sometimes the markets are the big story. We'll talk outlook for the grains and have a conversation about how the markets might be influencing decisions for this year's acreage mix in this week's Farmer Forum.
Live from the frosty foothills of Hump Day via Farm Journal broadcast, this is AgriTalk. This morning we begin with a conversation with Rick Brock from the Brock Report. Then it's our Farmer Forum with panelists Caleb Hamer and Ryan Wagner. Directly following the news, Margie Eckelkamp from The Scoop. I, the handsome newsman Davis Michelson. Now, welcome the host of AgriTalk, Chip Flory.
Holy smokes, Davis, what a difference 24 hours can make, huh?
Bro. Yeah, okay, so yesterday, the PM show with the commodities cowboy, Captain Carl himself, 77 degrees and sunshiny, not a care in the world. I woke up this morning, 17 degrees with snow on the ground, baby.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, at the bunker, it is currently 13 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
The wind is blowing 18 mile an hour consistently with gusts to 30.
Yeah.
And it feels like 4 below.
Yeah. That'll change you guys' attitude.
Man, you darn right. Luckily, I escaped. And
you did.
Yes. Yeah. And I am sitting down in Houston getting ready for our coverage from the Commodity Classic, where it is 68 degrees, windy, and not a little overcast.
Okay.
But 68 degrees and windy, I'll take that over 4 below.
I'll tell you what else I'll take. I'll take a little bump in corn prices here. Corn loves it when you travel, bro. We're already up like 2 whole cents this morning, huh?
Yeah, it's not like it's got to be a huge travel event.
Uh-huh.
I just need to be away from the office.
That's right.
I've said it many times. I am willing to take donations to not work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
Sometimes,
know,
beloved
if you guys
listeners,
want to put
you
that
wonder.
Together?
Yeah, you wonder why sometimes Chip just suddenly isn't there for a show or two. Yeah, we're trying this. It's an experimental sort of a thing.
Yeah, and you're welcome.
Mixed results so far.
We are going to begin our coverage from Commodity Classic this afternoon. We'll be talking markets. We'll be talking about the priorities of the National Corn Growers Association from the NCGA booth on the trade show floor. Opens this afternoon at 2:00, and as soon as it opens, we'll be on the air, dude.
Boom.
So looking forward to that.
That's how we roll.
You bet. All right, let's get to the news. What do you got?
Let's talk about the weather outlook. Heavy snow over parts of the Cascades, the northern Intermountain region, northern California, and Sierra Nevada mountains. Light to moderate snow over the Great Lakes, South Bend, Central Appalachians, and the Northeast. Temperatures will be 10 to 25 degrees above average over parts of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, Chip.
Well, and those warm temperatures they're coming right back.
Mm-hmm.
But tomorrow at the bunker in Northeast Iowa, we're back into the 50s. By Saturday, we're into the 60s. By Sunday, we're back into the 70s.
Yep.
So it's not like we're going to have to deal with this for a long period of time.
Well, in Q4 2023, the U.S. economy expanded at an annualized rate of 3.2%, slightly below the initial estimate of 3.3% and down from 4.9% in Q3. The downward revision was primarily due to a decrease in private inventories, which subtracted 0.27 percentage points from growth. However, consumer spending, Chip, was revised higher. For the full year 2023, the U.S. economy grew by 2.5% compared to 1.9% in 2022. Positive growth in 23, Chip.
Yeah, and it's part of the reason that all the recession talk is kind of gone, and the idea of a soft landing and what that means for the economy and interest rates going forward is occupying more of our thoughts now.
Mm-hmm. Well, during a private meeting with President Joe Biden and congressional leaders, House Speaker Mike Johnson expressed a clear commitment to avoiding a government shutdown. The leaders emerged from the meeting optimistic about preventing a shutdown, with discussions primarily focused on keeping the government operational.
Yeah, but there's still a wide chasm between what the priorities are. Schumer said priority one is let's get the funding for Ukraine. and Johnson is focused on the border, wants to see some of those issues resolved.
Wow, look at this. I just looked at the market. Okay, on this story, cotton futures surged to the highest level since mid-September 2022 on the continuation chart during overnight trade. While futures have gone parabolic, there could be more near-term upside potential. Prices have only reached these levels 3 other times previously. Chip, on the day, the March up 650 points. The May's up 200 points this morning in the cotton.
Right. Yeah, limit moves happening in the cotton trade this morning. That March contract's getting ready for delivery with very, very low stocks.
Well, Chip, multiple uncontrolled wildfires are currently endangering towns in the Texas Panhandle, leading to evacuations. The largest among them, the Smokehouse Creek Fire, has consumed over 370,000 acres of land since igniting on Monday afternoon. This reported by Texas A&M, the Forest Service there. The region is also battling several other wildfires exacerbated by strong winds and dry conditions.
Yeah, it is a tinderbox out there.
Indeed. Quickly, the U.S. biomass-based diesel and ethanol compliance credit prices have slumped to 3-year lows on declining feedstock costs and are set to stay low as renewable diesel output rises. This, according to the Energy Information Administration. RINs generated from renewable diesel and biodiesel output and from ethanol production are both trading at their lowest levels since 2020. Let's leave it there, Chip.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's see if we've got Margie Eckelkamp, editor of The Scoop, with us. Good morning, Margie.
Good morning, Chip. Good morning, everyone.
How are you today?
Doing pretty well. A little chilly, but we're not going to complain. It's seasonal.
That's right. So, hey, you've got this study about what a model retailer looks like. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Chip, we have had so many things to talk about on our Wednesday touch point on AgriTalk that I have yet to give you guys an update of a report we were able to publish earlier this month with our partners at the Ag Retailers Association. Now, The Scoop is the official magazine of the Ag Retailers Association, and we came together to put forward a study to say, so what is average? What does an average retailer look like? How many employees? What type of work are they doing? What products and services are they offering? How many locations they have? And why this study is important is it gives the Ag Retailers Association an advocacy tool so that when the regulators and legislators are looking at potential things that could impact those products and services offered by ag retailers, it gives them a calculator to base on what that impact could be. So, for example, if there was a new regulation around CDL drivers, well, on average, by our study, the average retailer has at least 10 full-time CDL drivers and 5 part-time or seasonal CDL drivers at an individual location. So it gives a way to say, well, that potential regulation could impact that by that multiplier. We also asked retailers, where do they see growth in their business? And they do see growth in the custom application. One thing of note is they're watching perhaps reduced anhydrous ammonia sales. Interesting.
Okay. It's a fascinating look at the ag retail sector. So give it a look. www.thedailyscoop.com. Thank you, Margie.
Thank you, Chip.
All right. That is Margie Eckelkamp, editor of The Scoop. We're talking markets next. Rick Brock from the Brock Report here on AgriTalk.
When news breaks, the newsmakers talk about it on AgriTalk with Chip Flory. You're waiting. Never too early for a little bit of Timberlake for the ladies.
Actually, I was over here talking to myself.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, there's a little button on this headset. Every now and then I push it. Yeah, I probably shouldn't even push it.
Well, if you need to finish your conversation with yourself, I can continue to sing.
No, I'm good.
That's not a problem.
I'm good.
Huh? I know other songs.
Welcome back. Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about what's going on in the markets. I know that is something that we usually reserve for the afternoon outside of the bottom of the hour or we talk with Brian Grady every weekday. But I feel like we need to spend a little bit more time on it because just of the condition of the markets right now. And to help us do that, Rick Brock from the Brock Report. Good morning, Rick. It's good to talk with you.
Chip, good to talk to you. Pretty
You bet.
exciting times in these markets now.
It certainly is. Certainly is. It's a busy time of the year for you. Where are you at?
I'm actually sitting in my office right now in Destin, Florida, and I'll be heading up to Memphis shortly to give the commodity outlook for the Cotton Ginners Convention.
How do you put that together? Good grief with what that cotton market is doing right now. Rick.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, it exploded again to the upside today, and so we'll have an exciting crowd up there because all they grow is cotton, corn, soybeans, and so you got one looking or corn and beans that are looking very poor right now, and cotton is exploding. So, we'll have a big crowd there too. And I'd like to be at the Commodity Classic, but somehow they scheduled them both on the same days this year, so I can't.
Seems a little strange, but that's exactly what happened. So, poor condition of the corn and the soybean market. What are your thoughts? How bad is it?
Well, actually, we think that corn and soybean markets are making bottoms right now. Okay. I think this market is so oversold. Granted, the fundamentals are not very good, but the fundamentals are not bad enough to justify these low prices in corn and beans. And I know a lot of producers are upset that got caught, didn't make sales when they should have. But I would not want to be making any sales in corn and soybeans right now. In the last 2 weeks, the open interest has dropped sharply. One of the biggest drops in a short period of time I've ever seen in both the corn and beans. And it's all caused by the long commodity funds getting out of their positions. So, and we're going to see longs getting out of more positions, I think, in the corn and beans. Now, I just don't know what the event is going to be to cause this market to turn around. But in any case, this is a structure where you've got commercial companies that are long corn and beans, which is rare. Mm-hmm. You have the Cargills and the EDMs, and then you have the commodity funds that are big shorts. And whenever you get to extremes, which it is right now, the difference between the commodity funds and the commercials, then it's like a rubber band getting ready to pop. And when it pops, it's going to result, we think, in a fairly significant rally in the corn and soybean market. So those are two important markets this week. But the other one, on the other hand, that is just the opposite is the cattle market. Now, a lot of people are very bullish cattle, but we think this market's getting ready for a substantial correction to the downside. So, this is a market, I think, that you don't want to go on a vacation on a week like this.
Yeah, the money flow in and out of that cattle market, it showed us what can happen last September when the funds decide that it is time to step out. And, I don't want to give the impression that it's funds. That's the only thing that is driving this market around. You and I have talked a few times during this slide in grain prices. And up until recently, the conversation was about, look at what we're doing to carryover. Look at what we're doing on the supply side of the market. It was all about factoring in a bigger than needed supply along with slower than wanted demand. It's only recently that I think the market, and rightfully so, the market is really focused on what the funds are doing and what it's going to take to get them out of short positions. And, Rick, it could be as simple as turning some of their latest sales into losers. You do that, it's not as much fun for them to trade on the short side of the market any longer.
They are known to run for the hills pretty quick when the market starts to go against them. The other factor that has been bearish, particularly in the corn market, merchandisers have told us since harvest that on average they've bought twice as much corn this year on DP contracts as they did last year. Farmer had more corn than he had storage for, so they took it to the elevator. They didn't like the price, so they used a DP contract. Those add insult to injury to a market like corn, because once they put this under a DP contract. Ownership changes hands. Now the elevators have not had to bid up to buy the corn because they already own it. And it's just a tool that makes me cringe every time I see producers use it because it works so hard to get to the advantage of a disadvantage to the farmer. They just don't work. Now we're in a situation we're getting ready to go into March, and most of those DP contracts are going to be retired, and the farmer's going to have to make a decision in a lot of cases to get those priced. And I think that's what's been happening here in the last week too. A lot of producers who are now underwater on those DP contracts are taking their losses and getting out of them. And so I think that's going to be a very important factor here in the next 2 weeks as we get past the pricing of all these DP contracts, and then we'll go back to trade more normal fundamentals.
Okay. All right. We're talking with Rick Brock from the Brock Report here this morning. Rick, if someone wants to learn more about the Brock Report, maybe take a look at it for a little while, what do they need to do?
Here's a phone number to call, 414-351-5500. And we'll send you a 3-week free trial along with access to get our daily comments on the markets, which in these next 2 weeks is going to be really important because I think we're going to be making a lot of recommendations. We're covering corn hedges now. So there's going to be some, I think, major market decisions to be made here in the next 3 weeks. So all they have to do is call that number. Again, 414-351-5500. Absolutely no cost and no obligation. And it's just a free, and nobody will bug you at the end of the 3 weeks.
Cool. Okay. Thank you for that. Looking at the 24 crop, what is your outlook there? Because we've got the USDA ag outlook for them. There wasn't really a whole lot bullish in the outlook there. Can we change the narrative in corn and soybeans to a more of a bullish tone?
I don't think we can near term. It's going to take some weather issues during the planting season, and every listener's guess is as good as mine on that one. I think you have to assume normal weather until proven differently. But we are dropping the acres. I mean, right now the estimated planted acres 91 million on corn versus last year's 94.6. But even at that, if you put the yield even at 179, we have the carryover going from 2.24 to 2.47 billion bushels. That's not a very good sign. However, the laws of economics have not been repealed, and you get any commodity as cheap as corn is now, and someone will find a way to use more of it. And maybe it'll happen in the export market, but something will happen at these price levels to increase corn usage. It may not result in a major bull market, but it's going to keep this market from going any lower.
All right, just a couple of minutes left. Is it a weather market coming out of South America, and that's a Safrinha corn crop?
Well, we've had a weather market there, I think, since December. And a lot of people thought it was going to be bullish, but then the weather got better. And so their acreage is up so sharply this year, particularly in corn and in soybeans, that it's going to take much more significant weather problems down there to be a positive for the prices of either corn or beans. But from this price level, and even a little weather problem down there is going to be helpful.
Okay. The demand, I really like the comment that you made earlier that if we can get demand back in here, and that's what the markets are doing. We've got a lot of corn and soybeans that need to be used up in the year ahead. Markets searching for demand. If that can happen, we can at least cement a low in here, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So, and, as we've been talking, I mean, this market has rallied quite a bit. I mean, corn, when we started talking, corn was up a penny. It's now up 6. Beans were only up a penny, now up 8. And so, I do think this thing can turn around fairly quickly.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you, Rick. We sure appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Chip. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right. That is Rick Brock from the Brock Report. Coming up next, it is time for this week's Farmer Forum. We've got Caleb Hamer from Iowa and Ryan Wagner from South Dakota. How are the markets impacting decisions? Are they having any influence on decisions? for what the acreage mix is going to be this spring. We'll talk about that next here on AgriTalk.
Time for Markets Now with the experts from Pro Farmer.
Joining us now, Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady. Beach, it seems to be happening. The short covering seems to be starting.
Well, this morning it is, at least in the corn, soybean, and soy meal markets. And of those three, I think meal is the most important. That's been the one that when we've seen up days in those other two markets here recently, that it's turned lower after a firmer start and pulled the other two down. So let's watch the meal market into the close, trading $4 plus higher here at mid-morning. And so if we can hold or build on those mid-morning gains, then I think there's a much greater chance that corn and soybeans also hold on to their gains.
All right, wheat market really doesn't want to participate in this right now.
Yeah, no, and of the grain and soy markets, wheat has performed the best of the bunch. Not that it's performed well by any means, but just performed better than the others, and so probably some spreading action going on there, and it's the weak leg so far this morning.
Heavy pressure on the cattle complex this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially feeders, they're trading sharply to the downside. Moderate to sharp pressure in live cattle futures, and we've seen this type of price action in the recent past here. So on the strong recovery from the December lows, we've had days like this where we see heavy price pressure, and we've found buyers underneath the market. So I think that'll be critical as we move forward. Not expecting cash cattle trade to develop until late in the week, and so that's allowing some of this corrective selling interest to come into the marketplace. And then on the hog side of things, we're about moderate gains here at mid-morning.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady on Markets Now.
Opinions expressed on AgriTalk do not necessarily reflect the views of Farm Journal Broadcasting, affiliate stations, or sponsors. I don't know what you're thinking. So call us at 855-4TALK-AG and tell us what's on your mind.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip Flory. Glad that you are with us today. It is Wednesday morning. That means it is time for this week's Farm Reform. Let's get it started. Caleb Hamer, there in Iowa. Hey, Caleb, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm willing to yield my time back to Rick if he wants to keep talking while the markets go higher.
I love it. Yeah, the market's kind of perked up while he was talking. No question about that. Yeah, you got to take advantage of the situation when every time it comes up, you got to grab the opportunity, right?
Seems like it.
How you doing, man? Everything okay?
Good. Spring is in the air until about 5 o'clock last night when the wind came up and temperature dropped 30 degrees, but definitely no snow around here. Plenty dry. We could use rain.
Yeah, absolutely. It was raining down here in Houston this morning. I was a little confused at what was going on there for a while. It's been so long since we've seen that.
It's all done with mirrors, I think.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. Yep. All right. Ryan Wagner up in South Dakota. Hey, Ryan, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Chip. Doing great here. Yeah, kind of in the same situation. Wild temperature swings this week, and looking forward to the warm-up that's coming, this afternoon or tomorrow now for us.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It doesn't take long once we get used to those warmer temperatures. When we do get a shot at cold temperatures, it feels really cold.
Oh man, yeah. Yesterday was miserable. We had 5 degrees and 30-mile-an-hour winds yesterday afternoon after being in the 60s 24 hours before that. So that was a little shock to the system for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's putting ice back on the lake so you guys can keep ice fishing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think we're pretty much done for the season up here the way it looks, the way the forecast looks. So
man, what a short season.
The shortest one I can ever remember. I mean, we weren't able to get out really before the first of the year, and by mid-February, things were looking a little bit soft out there. So really short season.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Okay. We've set the stage to have a little bit of a conversation about what's going on in these markets. And Ryan, just so that everybody is aware, you're also a market analyst, do some brokerage up there, Bolt Marketing in Britain, South Dakota. So I'm going to start with you, Ryan. When you are thinking about what's happening in these markets and the decisions that you have to make for Wagner Farms and the decisions that you are helping your clients make, what are some of the things that you're looking at?
Well, right now we're looking at a lot of new crop. I mean, old crop we did pretty decently on and got a lot priced, and not as much as we had hoped for, but kind of just we're in patience mode right now, waiting for a bounce to sell and just what that bounce looks like, or identifying how much of a bounce is going to be acceptable to us is kind of the goal here on old crop, And as far as new crop goes, there's still enough carry in the market and lower cost of production for the 2024 growing season that some decent prices are available now. We're exercising a little bit of patience there as well, because I think we can bounce a little higher before we get too carried away. But just kind of honing in on our cost of production this time of year. If a guy is a forward contractor, you can look at some cash forward sales. And if you have prepaid inputs locked in on seed, chemical, fertilizer, things like that, you can do a pretty good job of knowing what your cost of production is. Of course, the big unknown is the yield and where your break even is at. But it's kind of that time of year, especially with crop insurance. Yeah. Revenue guarantees being set to push the pencil and see where you need to be.
Right. You're up in that area where there is more flexibility in what is going to be planted. Are the markets this spring going to have much impact on what the acreage mix is going to be up in the Dakotas?
For us personally on our farm, not really. We stick to our 3-crop rotation pretty closely. 20% spring wheat, 40% wheat, 40%, or 20% spring wheat, 40% soybeans, 40% corn. Okay. We're mostly in corn and soybean country here, and a lot of guys I think are going to stay pretty close to that 50-50 on that. You get north of us into North Dakota, where they have a few more options with specialty crops, and west of us, sunflowers are an option, and as well as a few other things. So, I mean, you've got some different possibilities out there where guys might swing a little bit farther one way or another depending on price. But again, today's price is just what it is. Today's price. You kind of got to look at your outlook and what you can do on new crop and where your cost of production is in each crop as well. So I think there's still some acres that I consider swing acres, but fairly minimal, honestly. At this time of year, plans have been made, and especially given that we put a lot of fertilizer down last fall.
Right. Absolutely. That is a factor that I think is going to be a factor as we make our way through spring. Caleb, what about you? You've got some acres locked in because of seed production and so on in your operation, but could the market have much of an impact on what your acreage mix is going to be this spring?
Could it? Yes. But like you said, with seed production in our area, both on the corn and soybean side, a lot of rotations are locked in. We have some stuff that's in continuous corn and will stay in continuous corn, but we probably are looking at the most bean acres we've had in recent years for the 24 growing season.
Okay. And is that a net revenue decision? Is that what that's based on, or is that agronomic?
It's just kind of how the chips fell the last couple of years. We did some corn on corn in spots just to get some fields squared back up as one crop instead of having 2 crops in one area. So it's not, it's more efficiency driven than market driven, but There's probably a couple spots. I'm just not real interested in going corn on corn without fall tillage. So I'm probably not going to be influenced to flip anything. There was a really good fall around here. Tons of anhydrous got put on. All the retailers I talked to had record tonnage. Lots of fertilizer went down as well. A lot got done, so I think that means a lot of corn acres.
Yeah. Yeah. The talk, of course, is 91 million. You know me, I've been thinking 92 is kind of a baseline because of everything that got done last fall and some of these issues that you're talking about. Caleb, talking about the logistics of squaring up some farms so that you've got bean production here and corn production there, and you don't have to be doing it. It just makes for a more efficient harvest season, if nothing else.
Right.
There are so many of those factors that are unique to each individual farm. It's really tough to say, well, because the corn market did this, corn acres are going to be X rather than X plus Y, isn't it?
Yeah. I would like to grow a lot of corn because I can pretty well tell you what a corn crop's going to be. I have yet to figure out how to guess a bean crop, but just like you said, logistics matter. Labor is harder to find at harvest, and if it can save us a few hours of not having to move as often, then we're going to be as efficient as possible.
Interesting. Ryan, those are influences on acreage mixes that I don't think they're in anybody's model. There could be some agronomic issues, with some of the resistance to the rootworm varieties and some of the other agronomic stuff that happens year to year. But we're talking about things that they don't fit into an acreage model at all, right?
Right. Yeah. I think Caleb nailed it there. A lot of times when we have acreage swings from year to year, it's just based on efficiency. You have a couple fields farther out that you just want to have one crop. It makes it easier for harvest, makes it easier for planting, spraying, everything. And on the agronomic side too, around here, if we have a bad year on say water hemp or whatever the weed is, with us with wheat as an option, I'll swing that field to wheat the following year, just to help clean it up, because we've got a few more different chemical options in wheat and things, and that seems to help. And with wheat, the early canopy really starts to take care of some of those weed issues too, and the early harvest where you can take care of some other residual issues after harvest. But yeah, I think that a lot of times it's a lot more driven by efficiency than it is by price when those acres swing on a smaller scale on a farm level. As far as nationally, the general trends, I think, follow price, but I think the spreads have to be wider than what they are at the moment in order for that price to have that much of an influence, because net revenue on corn and soybeans are pretty even right now on new crops.
Yeah, exactly. Beans are not blowing away corn. Corn is not blowing away beans. And where you are at, in many cases, is determining which one's got the greatest revenue potential. So a lot is up in the air as we make our way out of February and get started into March by the end of this week. It's pretty remarkable that there are some decisions to be made yet, but for the most part, I think we could, most guys could fill out their survey for the prospective plantings report right now and be done with it. Okay, we're in the middle of the Farmer Forum. Caleb Hamer from Iowa, Ryan Wagner from South Dakota. We got to talk a little bit more about the weather. Is that having an influence on what might be planted this spring?
Our name says it all. AgriTalk. What more do you need to know?
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip Flory. Glad you're with us on this Wednesday morning. That means it's Farmer Forum time. We've got Caleb Hamer from Iowa, Ryan Wagner from South Dakota. Ryan, you said something in the last segment that is interesting to me, and waiting on a bounce to sell old crop. What is a rally in corn this spring? I mean, it normally we'd be thinking, all right, 70 to 90 cents. That would be a good spring rally.
Yep.
Is it less than that this year? to get corn to move?
Yeah. Short answer is yes. I think it is less than that this year. I mean, we saw May hopefully is the bottom down at 409. I'm looking at a 40, 30 to 50 cent rally off that low. So I mean, 450, 460 area. There's some technical resistance in that area. I think would be a good spot to sell against. And with a 12-cent carry out to July, if a guy is looking at hauling corn this summer, you can basically add 12 cents to that, and I think that's as good a spot as any to get some old crop cleaned up.
Yeah. What is the cash bid on corn up in your area now, up in South Dakota, Ryan?
It's actually been, the basis has actually been strengthening a little bit lately,
Oh.
but we're on average around 35 under basis to May or basis to March prior to the rolls. So that's pretty typical. So we're right in that 380 area right now, 385. So sub $4, but yeah, it's not ideal.
Yep. Caleb, based on the way that the markets are going, you do have to make some adjustments in what to expect from that spring rally. Does what Ryan's talking about make sense to you?
Yeah. I think initially a lot of us had hopes of sniffing $5 again, but we need to rein those expectations back in on old crop would be my thought.
Gotcha. Okay. So the spring weather, Caleb, do you let the field conditions determine when you're out there and thinking about putting some seed in the ground, or are you going to watch the calendar pretty close?
As far as seeding goes, I'd be willing to put beans in March if the soil and weather conditions and forecasts come together. I'm not going to put any corn in the ground until we get closer or to the insurance date. It's too expensive, too much of a risk for my operation. But there's anhydrous going on in the neighborhood yesterday. So
Yeah.
there's dust flying in spots.
Yeah. I saw some anhydrous going on Sunday afternoon too. It's amazing that here we are, that the last week of February, last couple of days of February, and it looks more like the last couple of days of March than the last couple of days of February. Has that got your anxiety up some, Caleb, for what the season might bring us?
We are majorly moisture deficit. I heard my sump pump run when it rained here like 2 weeks ago, when there was still some snow on the ground, 3 weeks ago maybe. That was the first time it had fired since last May. I was glad it still knew how to work. But it only fired that one time, and it hasn't run again since. So the creeks are dry, the open ponds are dry. I mean, we need water.
Yeah. The pond levels that I'm looking at are just, it's pretty shocking up in Northeast Iowa. No question about it. Ryan, what about you? What's this spring-like weather got you thinking about?
Well, it's got me thinking about putting in some spring wheat nice and early for a change. We haven't had any field activity in the month of March or April here for the last couple of years. So I'm kind of anxious for that to get some spring wheat in early. That'd be great for once. In even the last couple of days of March or the beginning of April when we'd like to see it planted. Our soil moisture situation is pretty decent right now. Actually, we had some rains last fall. We were dry in the last summer as well, but had some August rains that replenished the profile and had some in September as well. So we're in pretty good shape. But yeah, an early start is definitely looking like it's a real good possibility this year. Last year at this time we were staring at huge snowbanks out the window and had more on the way as well. Yeah. So we're set up for an early spring, no doubt.
Yeah. Last year at this time, good grief, you still had like 50 inches of snow on the ground or something, right?
Oh yeah, at least. And every snowstorm last year came with wind. So we had huge drifts along the trees, and shelter belt in my backyard. It was 12 feet deep on the level for 100 yards back. I mean, it was it was crazy.
Nice.
So it took a long time for that to melt and run off, and some of it went in the ground, which helped carry us for a while last year. But yeah, we don't have anything like that this year. Looking out the window right now, I don't see any snow.
Right. Okay. You know, the markets are a little bit in the dumps, the little bit disappointing right now. Give me something to be excited about, Caleb. Come on.
The Hudson Pirates boys basketball team goes to state tournament next week for the first time in 30 years. And we're
30
the number
years.
2 seed. Yep. We're the number 2 seed and have a pretty good shot at making a run as far as I'm concerned.
Nice. That's excellent. Well, and even the Hawks, the Hawk men last night they took a big step last night and shoring up their odds for the NCAAs, didn't they?
If they want to put 40 minutes together, they can play with anybody, but
Yeah.
good luck getting them to play defense well enough to do it.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. What about you, Ryan? What are you watching up there?
Well, our high school basketball season came to an end last night, so I don't have that to look forward to like Caleb does. But yeah, it is basketball season right now. I mean, a lot of hoops to watch, playoff district regions going on right now. So
Yeah.
I guess we can enjoy that. while the
Darn
prices are
right.
down.
Darn right. You know, I'm enjoying the Cyclones this year. There's no question about it. You guys, great job today. I appreciate you. We'll talk again later this spring. Thanks, Caleb. Thanks, Ryan.
See you guys.
All right.
Thanks, Chip. See ya.
You bet. Caleb Hamer in Iowa, Ryan Wagner in South Dakota. This afternoon, our coverage from Commodity Classic 2024 starts. We will be on the expo floor at the NCGA booth right here on AgriTalk.